Good afternoon. It's David Saline and Chris Scully from Drive. And today we have Tyler Robertson of Diesel Laptops with us. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be on here. Great to be back on again. Thank you.
Yes, it's always great to have you here. So just a little bit, Diesel Laptops has a lot of different products right now to help out not only the trucking industry, the truck shops, but they got a lot of stuff that has to do with the medium heavy duty trucks. So I'll give Tyler kind of a few minutes to brief what's all new with Diesel Laptops and what they got going on.
Yeah, well, we created so many new things, everyone got confused, even our own employees. So we tried to clarify it. So we got like 4 distinct divisions now. So one is our diagnostic tool division, and we sell everything from, I got little Bluetooth code readers that work with your phone for a couple $100, and we got free software all the way up to the $10,000 professional level stuff that does truck, off highway, marine, auto, and all that. We got another division of our company called Diesel Training. So we actually do online and in-person training classes, and it's not about software. It's about how to properly diagnose things. So electrical courses, after treatment courses. We even have like specific courses on Cummins engines, hydraulic systems, diagnostic 101, all these things that people need to know about. And we do the online stuff as well over there too. We have another division of our company called Diesel Repair, and Diesel Repair is really the side of it. It's a repair platform. So repair.diesellaptops.com. It's a freemium site. So it's very similar if anyone uses Motors or Mitchell or even OEM stuff. Ours is a freemium platform. It's free to sign up. You can do a little bit for free every month. The subscriptions aren't that bad. And we got all kinds of great stuff going on over there. Stuff you've probably never even seen before in the marketplace. And then we have diesel parts. So diesel parts, no matter what everyone's doing, you need to buy a part to fix your vehicle. And the problem we're solving there is no one wants to pick up the phone and spend 20 minutes calling around town, finding parts and availability and pricing. And we have a website, that platform, parts.diesellaptops.com, where users can look up their own parts through exploded views, cross-references, by application, all these unique ways. And soon there's gonna be a marketplace where you can see price and availability from your favorite sellers. So we're kind of putting all those pieces together, and we're just here to help people fix things quicker and more efficiently is the goal of the company.
Okay, so you guys got a lot of exciting products right there that I see as time savers and helping the industry and getting better at diagnostics and everything else. So it's just great to have you on here to talk about that. Now, I know right before we come live, we were talking about the state of the industry there a little bit, Tyler. And I know you keep up a lot on this, and Chris and I talk about it all the time, but I think it's always good to have like a guest, kind of showcase what they're seeing out there and what they're hearing on what's going on in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I have a weekly podcast show, and I had the guys from Port of LA on the show, and we've talked about that. And I think people have heard a lot about that. I can tell you, like component wise, there's still problems in the supply chain with all of that. I mean, obviously, hopefully everyone heard last year, Cummins got actually approved for an EPA approved delete because they couldn't actually get the components to make the emission systems work. So you could actually get some certain deletes done on some certain Cummins engines. But we're starting to see it now on the diagnostic tool side too, and it's all supply chain stuff. So if people have heavy duty tools, the diagnostics, those adapters that go between the truck and the laptop, those things are getting harder and harder to get. One of the most popular brands out there, Nexic, we sold thousands of those USB Link 2s every year, and they can't get them. So they had to take the Bluetooth chips out of them and come out with a non-Bluetooth version. Another one of our suppliers told us one of their chips went up 19,000% in price from when they got quoted. This Bluetooth tool I had on, talking about earlier.
19,000%.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. One chip. This tool, we had originally put 5,000 in the marketplace. They sold out in 90 days. So we ordered another 10,000. That was 6 months ago, and we still don't have them yet. And we again had to remove chips. We had to remove accelerometers. We took memory out of them. We had to take some componentry out of it just to even get them. So it's going to take a long time for everything to get back to the way it was. But companies like us and Snap-on and Nexic and all these guys, we're just modifying our hardware, making new versions of it to get around the chip shortage. So it's unfortunate, but it's today's reality, and it's going to be a long time on the chips until it's 100% smoothed out. But in anything, if people have noticed, more and more componentry now needs circuit boards and chips in them to do things. So like VGT actuators is a great example. And I'll give a little pro tip to everyone. There's a company right here in South Carolina in Greenville called Circuit Board Medics. They actually will repair VGT actuators, the circuit boards inside of them that get the corrosion and the problems, and other componentry on vehicles as well. So there's alternative options. If you have a truck down, just waiting on a circuit or a chip, there's people out there coming up with solutions, and it's breeding up a whole new level of entrepreneurs and new businesses in the marketplace.
Well, that's amazing. We also had a brief conversation about you have an expo coming up. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that? And
yeah, so I'm super excited about it. We started it 3 years ago, right when COVID kind of happened. I'd been wanting to do an expo forever, and COVID happened. And that first year, we had about 2,500 people show up to this event. Last year, we had about 5,000. So this year, we got our sights on hopefully 10,000. And first of all, it's absolutely free for attendees. So we want as many attendees as possible. I can tell you during that, you're going to find basically two types of talks. You're going to find technical talks on everything from fuel injection and turbos and how to diagnose things and demos of software. But then we have the other side of it too. So I know Drive's there doing some presentations for everybody as well and helping people. We got some economists in there talking about parts and inventory and what our heavy duty market's going to see this year. And I think the biggest one at all that I'm really excited about, and I can't believe we landed on, is Mike Rowe. So if you're a Dirty Jobs fan, Mike Rowe is going to be there the first day doing a little Q&A with the audience and myself, just talking about the state of diesel technicians, the trade skills, and all those things. And I'm sure most of the people listening to this, they're trying to hire techs and trying to find better ones and get more efficient at their jobs. And Mike's got a great charity that's out there trying to beat that drum as well. And to top it all off, we're giving away over $50,000 in prizes. So everything from diagnostic schools to what do they call those things? It's like not an ATV, but UTV. We give away one of those things, but all kinds of subscriptions, software, tools, prizes. There's an exhibit hall, but it's 3 days. So one day is light duty diesel, one day is heavy duty diesel, and the third day is heavy duty and off highway diesel. So I hope everyone's there. We are charging the vendors to be there, but any money we generate, we're giving right back to charity. There's a charity called the Diesel Garage Foundation that gives away scholarships to diesel techs. And any money we make, we're just giving right over to them to go put people through school. So trying to do our part, raise some money, educate people, give away a bunch of stuff. And I think it's gonna be a great time. So again, appreciate Drive coming out to help support that this year.
that's awesome. And it's all virtual. And we've just posted the link. So if you're interested in checking it out, just go ahead and click on that link and get yourself registered.
Yep, it's all virtual. You can do it from your mobile phone even. It's mobile phone friendly. Some of the stuff will be available for replay for about a month afterwards. Some of it won't. But if you're wanting to learn more, it's free training essentially for the people out there that are hopefully listening to this. And I think it's gonna be a great show. So we're really excited to be able to keep doing this thing, and every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're already working on next year to see how we can go double it up again. So we'll see if we get there.
That's great.
So Tyler, when I met with you down in January at HDAW, you were talking about some training facilities that you have for technicians right now. I would like to expand on that a little bit because I think that's a big need. Everybody's looking, where do I get training for my technicians too?
Yep. So training.diesellaptops.com. That's our training website. And we're investing in training facilities. So the problem with training is everyone's like, well, do the online, do the virtual stuff. I can tell everyone listening to this, it's really hard to get a diesel technician to sit for 8 hours on a Zoom call to try to do it, or spread it out over multiple days. And you got things going on in your shop and distractions and all those things. And we do those things, but the hands-on stuff is really the moment to shine. So we opened a facility. Well, we have one already in Dallas. We had one in South Carolina where our company headquarters are. We actually just bought a new piece of property about a month ago to put even a bigger training facility up here in South Carolina. And we added Atlanta and we added Chicago in the last 6 months. So we're in those cities. We want to be in the Northeast as well. And like I said earlier, it's not about software. You don't need to buy our software. You can use you don't even need the software for the courses. It's how to properly troubleshoot things. And the big thing we see from our customers calling in, it's the parts cannon. They just throw parts at it, throw parts at it, throw parts at it until something fixes it. And it ends up being a bad situation for everybody, for the customer, for the repairer, for the technician. And once you understand how systems work and know how to troubleshoot things, you tend to be a lot more efficient and have a lot more happy customers. And we're all about improving that. And where this all comes into is the fact that we have a shortage of diesel technicians. And the only way you fix it is either more diesel technicians or help them be more efficient at their job. And we're trying to attack that problem from both ends to really alleviate it.
You know, that brings up, because I know you sat with it and we listened to ASC present down there at HDIW, and they were talking about the technicians coming out of trade school. They come out of the trade school or high school programs, and they're saying that within the first year to year and a half, 40% of them leave the industry and don't come back. And that part of it, I think, has to do with training, but it's also not just getting into a trade school and coming out of it and getting employed at a shop. It's a continual education that the shop brings and keeps them showing that there's a path, that there's a future, that there's a career in this, not just, oh, I'm going to be a mechanic for this is what life is going to be like for the rest of my career.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, people don't usually leave jobs because of pay. They usually leave them because they don't see a career path. They don't like who they work with. They don't like their boss. It's usually those types of things. And there's a lot of reasons people leave after 2 years. I think it goes back to the level of expectation of a graduate coming over a 2-year program. Thinks a lot of times they're going to jump on overhauls and do all these other things, when shops like, no, that's the certified guys. The guys that have been here for a while. We need help on brakes and PMs, electrical diagnostics, and these other things that happen on commercial trucks. So I'm not, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of 2-year colleges. I think in my opinion, they overtrain them a lot, and they spend a lot of time and money on things that aren't really that important to the actual employer when they get there. I'm more of a big believer in what like American Diesel Training Centers is doing, putting people through a 12-week program and saying, look, company, we're giving you a C-level tech, but we've trained them up well. They're going to be great. You give them a career path, give them some more training. They can become very, very, very good technicians. And that model's been proven. They got technicians that went through a 12-week program who are now service managers, who are now working at some of the biggest dealerships and biggest OEM dealership groups in the United States. And there's so many people out there that are just looking for a path to go from retail minimum wage, $15 an hour jobs to how do I go make 50, 60, 70 grand a year? And the trades and diesel techs is a great path. We just got to make it easy and quick for them to make that path. And you're right, it comes back to the retention side. These shops, if they have a poor environment where these rookies are coming in and getting hazed or getting picked on, or it's not a great atmosphere for them, they're not going to stick around. I wouldn't stick around. This isn't 1980 anymore, 1970. This is, people have options. There's 11 million jobs open in the US. People don't like a job, they can go and find another job tomorrow. That is the reality of today's world. And you have to treat them a lot differently now than you did a couple of years ago.
You know, Chris and I have talked a lot about culture. That's basically what you're saying. It's the culture of the shop. How is it? Do you make it a destination for people to be at? And, you know, Chris, we've talked about this so many times, and it's funny that it just keeps, Tyler brings it back up, but it is the attitude of the boss, the management. Like I said, we've done surveys, and the number one reason that employees leave is not because they didn't like where they were working. It wasn't related to pay. It wasn't related to the training they were getting. It was a disagreement with their direct manager. And sometimes the shop owners don't even see that.
Well, yeah, another
Oh,
key point that goes to culture and retaining technicians is that training and advancing your skill, advancing your knowledge, your career is a benefit that a lot of technicians really want. And the fact that you guys now have multiple facilities to help shops train their technicians goes a long way to helping them retain those technicians and create a really good culture in their shops.
Yeah, so I can tell you, people may not make this connection, but I can tell you it's perfectly clear. So I employ 200 people. I employ both diesel technicians and I have software engineers. So software engineers are just as much a demand as diesel technicians. We cannot find them. They're not walking in the doors and I got 5 years experience and all these certs and all these things. Like that doesn't happen in software development world. So what do? We hire young technicians, young software developers, And we give them a path. We basically say, look, you do these things. Here's how much you're going to make. Yeah, you're going to start here, but we're going to get you to here really quick as long as you do these things for us. And they know their career path. And I can tell you, we look at every single employee that gets terminated, and we either mark them as regrettable or unregrettable termination. And, you know, every time we see someone that's regrettable, that's not good for us, we wish they went to left. Every time it's really clear, well, we didn't give them a great career path, or they had a boss or manager that they didn't like and didn't get along with. It's those two things every single time. Yeah. And we just know if we fix those things, we can keep people around for much longer. So, and I hope everyone that employs people kind of looks at it that lens. We have the lowest unemployment rate almost of all time. Like there was just this week was like a record in 40 years for number of unemployment claims across the US, right? It's even harder now. You think it was hard 2 or 3 years ago? This is today's reality. It's even harder. The Department of Labor stats came out. There's less diesel technicians in the market today than there were 2 years ago. And it's because of the pandemic and everything that happened. And it's just putting more and more pressure on us. And in the meantime, trucks are getting more complicated to fix, more costly to fix, more componentries on them. Demand's going through the roof. And they're only going to get more complicated when you look at ADAS, electrification, all these other things that are happening in the space.
Yeah, you know, what you just said is so important, because the shops have to understand that they're not only competing with other shops for these technicians, they're competing with other industries, because these technicians have a choice. Do I stay in the industry, or do I make a complete career change? And a lot of people are doing just that. So if you want to retain employees, you've got to provide that career path, as you were talking about, provide the training, which Diesel Laptops can help with, Drive can help with, and create a place where people actually want to be.
So Chris, the unfortunate reality is they're competing against me. I have 35 diesel technicians I employ, and they don't work on trucks. They sit in offices, and I'm paying them, 60 to 100 grand a year to not have own tools and get dirty and on their backs all day long. And as technology keeps increasing and call centers keep exploding for all remote diagnostics and these things happening, that's the competition that's going to be very difficult and put a lot of downward pressure on the market as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You brought up briefly on a point there, tooling. And I've been a firm believer on this. When you take a young technician just getting out of school or getting into the industry, the expense to be a technician too is so large right now.
It's a huge barrier to entry.
It is one of those things, Chris and I, and we've talked to our clients at Drive on this on many times. I think this needs to be just put out there a little bit more. If your shops are in a position to start providing tooling in the shop where somebody can walk in, and even though they don't have all the tools or anything, they can do the job because the tools provided by the shop, you're going to be money ahead when it comes to retention. If you look at what it costs you to recruit and hire and everything you do in that process right there, compared to what a toolbox of tools so somebody could work in your shop is, you'd be amazed on how much you would be saving by supplying tools.
Yeah, 100% agree, because they're going to be looking at that saying, man, if I leave, I got to go buy 20 grand in tools just to leave this job because it's been provided to me by my employer. So I'll say this, you look at like our business that we do. I mean, we let them work from home, flex hours. We do everything we can to try and make it as great of a work environment as possible. Shops can do the same thing for their diesel techs. What can you do to make your place a better place to work than everybody else's?
Right.
You brought up something, you said flex hours, and that's something that's been a piece in our industry. It's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, no exceptions to it. But I've seen shops that are having great success now moving to 10-hour days, 4 days a week, giving those are benefits that we got to overcome as an industry, because they're out there now. People want that type of job. They want a work-life balance.
Yeah, 100%, especially, again, 11 million open jobs in the US. Diesel technicians, last I looked, there was 80,000 open jobs for diesel techs. It's not going to get better for a long time, if it ever gets better.
Well, correct. And then by the number of people, and I also am a firm believer on this piece, Tyler, and I know me and you talked a little bit about this when we were down there at HDAW, but the number of young people coming into our industry versus the people that are retiring from our industry. the numbers do not balance. I mean, I seen some numbers that ASE put up, and I only say this because they were showing, 60% of the workforce has been in the industry for over 25 years now. Well, these guys are getting closer to retirement, but there's only like 8% of the industry coming in that's been into the industry less than 5 years. So there's a big gap right there.
Yeah, last I looked, it was less than 10,000 diesel technicians a year come out of trade schools, right? And you got a lot more than that retiring every single year or leaving the industry. So it's a very, very challenging environment for everyone to deal with. And I'll say this to shops, if you're listening to this, get really good at electrical. Get good at electrical, good at after treatments. Those are the two key things you need to really have figured out in your shop. If you do that, you'll be amazed. Yeah, you may need more diesel techs, but if you get good at those things, you can push a lot more work through your shop as well. So it's not just throw more labor at it, it's getting more efficient at the work you have going on in your shop environment.
That's a good point about the challenge and the number of people coming in. I actually saw some statistics about a month ago talking about high school kids and what their plans are, and less than 20% of those people surveyed were planning to go into any kind of a trade school at all. So that's kind of where we're going to have to start. We're going to have to start reaching into the high schools, the junior high schools, middle schools, and promoting careers in this industry if we want to make a change. And that's really where it's going to have to start.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you the big change I see happening in the marketplace. This is kind of taking a left turn here a little bit, but the big change I see happening is data's coming off vehicles now as they're driving down the road.
Yeah.
And when I say that to people, they're always like, well, what's the big deal about that? I'm like, well, the big deal is now call centers like mine and AI, machine learning, and computers are being alerted while the vehicle is driving or before it even has a problem in some cases. And what that impacts then is all the decision trees that happen. So now it's not shops doing diagnosing. Like a lot of these OEM dealers, yeah, they're doing diagnosing, but their OEMs tell them before it gets there, it has this code, check these things, do these things, right? And here's the parts you need and the tools you need. Like that's today's reality of what the dealers are doing. That gets pushed right down through the aftermarket. So everyone's gonna be sitting here in a couple of years dealing with, the call centers, the FleetNets, the ArcBest, all these companies. And it's going to be them not just saying, I have a truck broke down, but I got a truck broke down. Here's the fault code. Here's what we think it is. Send somebody out there with this part number and go fix it. So I think a lot of that technology and things like that, as they're being able to put together, really helps also decrease the demand that's going on in the marketplace. But it all goes back to you need technicians that can diagnose things properly. Like that's like the key thing. You got to have that. If you have that skill set, you'll crank through so much work and have so much work, you'll never have to worry about it again.
Well, I was going to say, I have to agree with you. And with my shops, the biggest thing was electrical and how to do it in a timely fashion. And the number one thing I've seen technicians doing, and mainly younger technicians, they'll skip step number 3 because it's hard to do. Well, that step number 3 was the problem. And they chase it around in circles. And I can't figure it out. Well, don't skip those steps. And understanding the diagnostic trouble trees and how to actually work down them efficiently and properly is key to everything, Tyler, you're talking about.
So David, we have these remote programming kits that we send out because inevitably people diagnose and they can't figure it out and they point at that box on the engine and say, oh, that's the problem right there. It's the ECM causing this issue. And I can tell you, again, we have all these rental kits with OEM software. We ship it out. Our technician remotes in, does the programming events and all these things. And I can tell you 9 out of 10 times, it does not fix the issue. And it's really these weird sales conversations because they call up and I want to rent that kit. And we're like, please don't. Like, don't rent the kit. Let's talk about diagnosis. No, I need the kit. I'm like, just so you know, there's no refunds. We're going to send it to you. 90% don't fix it. I know. I still want the kit. Send it. Doesn't work. And then they're upset. Why did I just pay $400 to rent this kit? It didn't fix my problem. And we're like, well, we tried to tell you on the front end, but let's help you diagnose this thing properly now. Let's walk through this together. And that's really what we try to do here at Diesel Laptops, isn't just give people solutions. We really want to help educate and train people so that they can get through the solutions themselves. And that's really where the efficiency comes in inside the shops.
that's great. And just talking on this line and everything, I just want to make this statement out there. If your shop is not set up where you're actually investing in your technicians to this type of training and everything on there, and you're having retention problems, and what I call is teching for dollars. Is, I don't know the exact term to put it, but I call it teching for dollars. And you have technicians that rotate around from shop to shop waiting for the next extra dollar they can get. There's something that's not keeping them, and it usually has to do with the training and the work environment that we've been talking about today. And when you get one of those guys and you can land them and treat them right, give them the right training, the right tooling, and the right setup in your shop to do this, then you're gonna see a difference in the industry. But if not, you're gonna see technician wages going up out of the sky, and you're gonna sit here going, I can't afford to pay these guys what they're asking for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it all comes back to what you guys do, helping make sure shops are profitable and get their labor rates right and their markups right and all those things. A good example is truck drivers. It's been in the news a lot lately. Hey, there's 80,000 truck drivers we're short, and there's 100% turnover, 110% turnover, whatever the number is. You know who's not having a turnover problem? Walmart, because they're paying their guys $110,000 a year, making sure they're home as much as possible and doing all those types of things that they need to do, so they don't have the high turnover. So yeah, it's part money, but it's really taking care of the people that you have. And I view it as, I want to take care of people like I wish I was taken care of. I worked for somebody else at one point, and no one likes to feel like they're a number, just a cog in the wheel. They all want to be a part of a bigger thing and feel important and all those things. So you got to have a strong HR mindset or person inside your company to help drive all that.
Yeah, and the big thing, Chris and I agree with this, and I'm sure you will, Tyler. You're not going to set that culture, and you're not going to build your shop under a hood of a truck or working on a vehicle. You've got to free yourself up as the owner. You've got to think out and plan this time where you have the time and the energy and the effort to do this, and you can't do it while you're riding service or fixing trucks or vehicles. You have to become the owner and executive. And I know we do help do that with Drive. And I know you're helping with some systems there to help them plan their shop's future and expand it there. So that's why it was so great to have you on here today with us.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll say that was the exact part I was stuck in my company. I was still the doer and doing things and helping build kits and helping with repair and support and all these things. And once I hired people and just said, I got to trust them to go do their job, all of a sudden I could go work on my business, not in my business. And that was the entire difference and why we've been able to keep growing over here. Just keep hiring great people, putting the right culture in place, the right processes in place. Once you do that, man, it's like a machine. It just starts, it's like a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger as it rolls downhill, and the velocity just picks up. So yeah, you guys are doing all the right things over there.
Okay. Well, Tyler, thank you for joining us today. I know we're up on our time. Look, for all of our viewers, check out diesellaptops.com. They have a virtual event coming up. Drive will be participating in it with many other vendors, as Tyler said earlier in this show. Now is the time to start thinking about your training plans, your programs that you have in your shop, and how do you advance your shop and keep your employees happy. So this is what we're all about. So let's keep that going. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, Tyler.
No problem at all. Thanks for letting me come back on.
Okay. Everybody have a great weekend.